Hello again, my lovelies. Pirate Scum Gaming here. And tonight we are going to be taking a look at my Pulse Phaser Beam Overload build. And for that I am using the Fleet Malachowski with the Soyuz skin. However, as you can probably tell, she's wearing Terran battle paint, which means this is a Terran Universe version. So thusly it is not the Soyuz class in my headcanon, this is the Vostok class, named after the very first Russian space rocket to catapult Yuri Gagarin into history. And I absolutely love this ship. It is very fast, it is very nimble, it hits like a hammer. It is just a very beautifully designed ship. So let's go ahead and jump into this build. Alright, first up in the forward weapon slots, we have the Phaser Dual Wide Angle Heavy Beam Bank. This is from a Discovery reputation. Now, this is a Discovery tune, so it sort of makes sense, but also I'm using this because it hits like a runaway truck. This is going to be your biggest DPSing weapon on your Parse, as you will see in the upcoming explanation. I absolutely love these things. These hit very, very hard. And if you're not using them for a beam overload build, you're doing yourself a great disservice. Now, before you ask and flood my comments section with things, yes, this comes in a disruptor variant. Next up is a couple of Pulse Phaser Dual Beam Banks. These come from the Undiscovered Lockbox, also from the Exchange or the Infinity Box. I absolutely love these weapons. I have a huge soft spot for these. These are just very pretty. I absolutely love their proc. And I've always liked them. Ever since I saw them in Wrath of Khan, these are just absolutely beautiful. They hit hard, and especially with all the haste I have going on the ship, these things look like machine guns going off. They're awesome. So let's go ahead and take a look at that proc. As you can see, it is the Phaser Transfer proc. To target, -10 all damage resistance rating for 9 seconds, and then it gives it to you as +10 all damage resistance, which is very nice. Like I said, I've always had a soft spot for these, and I like them just a little bit more than I do Agony Phasers. And if you want Agony Phasers, I already have an Agony Phaser Beam Overload build out there. Go check it out. I'll put a link in the description for you in case you want to see what that looks like. Next up, I have the Dark Matter Quantum Torpedo, and this is an all-around excellent torpedo for either torpedo builds or energy weapon builds. Space Core has not changed, still using the Colony Deflector, the Competitive Impulse Engine, the Elite Fleet Plasma Integrated Warp Core from the Spire Holding, and the Tilly's Review Pending Modified Shield, because of its Shield Pen proc. Your weapon attacks cause enemy shields to receive 11.5% increased damage for 10 seconds based on shield power. Now for me, I have my engines maxed, but if you wanted to adjust your shield power to get a little more out of this, more power to you. It's your build, do however you like. Aft weapons, I have a omnidirectional Pulse Phaser Beam Array for reasons. Same thing with this Pulse Phaser Beam Array. And I also use the Trilithium Enhanced Omnidirectional. I have the turret for it as well from the Beyond the Nexus mission. I'm using these for its 2.5% chance to gain 10% firing cycle haste. And no, they do not stack. It's 2.5% per each of these. And every little bit of haste helps when you run into beam overload build, because as you all know by now, from watching all the other beam overload build videos that are out there, beam overload slows down your firing cycle. Now, and you have to speed it back up to get the damage out of it. So that's where these come in. Alright, for devices, I'm still using the Kobayashi Maru transponder for the added buffs that it gives. Energy amplifier from your beam R&D for the bonus energy weapon damage. Deuterium surplus, also known as evasive in a can, or as I like to call it, go-go juice. Reactive armor catalyst for Has a little bit of an oh shit button, pardon my French. And last but not least, red matter capacitor for a little extra help with my power levels. In the universal console slot is, of course, the Lorca's custom fire controls, or the Lorcator as we all call it. I'm using this for a nice bit of crit chance, little extra weapon power setting, but the main event, the reason why everyone uses it, is because of the Starship shield pen that it gives, that massive amount. Let's go ahead and take a look at the bonuses on this set. Alright, of course I have the whole 3-piece going. With the 2-piece you get on crit plus 1% crit severity buff for 20 seconds, stacks up to 25 times, so that's a bonus, so that has an extra 25% crit severity. Then the 3-piece, but that's just the beginning. Automatically launch 1 dark matter quantum torpedo at enemies below 50%. That torpedo is not modified by any firing mode, before you ask. So you will see random purple blobs shooting out my ship to go attack someone. Engineering consoles, I'm still using the Bioneural Infusion circuits from the Lobby store for its good chunk of Starship hull capacity, which ties into Tyler's duality, which I will discuss momentarily, as well as a little bit of Starship control expertise and a nice size crit severity buff. I'm also using the Tachyokinetic converter, also for the crit severity and crit chance, but also flight turn rate because I like to go fast. Next up is one of the more popular consoles in the game, also one of the most expensive, the Dynamic Power Redistributor. This is a great oh shit button if you need a good heal, but also using it for the bonus damage resistance rating and that massive 40% bonus damage that it gives while it's up. So as long as your hull is above 80% capacity, you are getting that full 40% damage bonus. Now I use this, but like I said, I do use this as an oh shit button, but I also use it as a damage boost at the very end. Next up is your interphasic rift generator. I'm using it for the crit severity buff, as well as the 15 Starship hull capacity. That may not be much, but every little bit helps to get Tyler's duality up a little bit. Creates an interphasic rift, plus 9 all current power levels. That's not bad. Deals good chunk of kinetic damage, that's always nice, and minus 50% flight speed. That means your enemies ain't going nowhere. Alright, we have the M6 computer from the T3 Temporal Escort. Reason I'm using this is the firing cycle haste. Also has some other nice added buffs. 15% bonus all damage for 15 seconds, and 25% cooldown reduction for tactical bridge officer abilities. That helps. The sooner your tactical bridge officer abilities are available, the sooner you can use them and blow the enemy to kingdom come. Also adds a little bit of accuracy. That's kind of important. Got to be able to hit your target, right? And some defense. That makes you a little bit harder to hit. Next up we have Domino, also for the recharge speed for bridge officer abilities, not to mention it's 25% firing cycle haste. And it serves a dual purpose because it also gives me 50% phaser damage since I am running phasers. Next up, temporal trajectory shifter from the Narendra, or the Voral support cruiser. Also, weapon firing speed haste, ability cooldown hasted also by 20%. This is another great console to use for beam overload. I can't recommend it enough. Another heavy hitter is the immolating phaser lance from the Deimos Pilot Escort. Big, angry, red beam of death shooting at your enemies, blowing them to kingdom come. Can't say any more than that. I'll give you a whole video on it. Go watch it. You'll learn something. Because you know what? Knowledge is power. And for tactical slots, vulnerability locators across the board. These are available from your Fleet Spire. I'm pretty sure everybody knows that by now. Alright, this ship also comes equipped with a hangar. And for the hangar pet, I'm using the Elite Alliance Fighter Squadrons. And these guys are mean little buggers. These guys will go out and go into business for themselves. They will attack anything that moves. And I do like the Focus Assault 3 that they put on the target. So, yeah, these guys are excellent for a free giveaway, basically. These guys came from the Jirok from the anniversary event. These were, basically freebies. These are damn good for freebies. So, I highly recommend if you guys have access to them, use them. Can't put these over enough. Alright, next up are my skills. My skill tree here, this is pretty much the same skill tree that Augie just put out. He did a whole build video review on it. Please do Augie a favor. If you haven't watched it, please do so. It's super informative. It'll explain to you exactly how all this stuff works together. And he counts on the views for his videos as income since Augie is a disabled U.S. veteran. He is from the Navy. He relies on his YouTube video income to support himself and his family. So please go help a brother out. Please help our veterans. Alright, and for specializations, Intel Officer Primary, Temporal Secondary. That's not changed, still using that. Alright, traits I have changed up maybe a little bit. Personal space traits, I haven't touched that. These are the same thing I've been running all along for my beam overload builds. However, for Starship traits, I've changed it up. I'm using Terran Goodbye. I'm also using Overpowered and Overgunned from the Legendary Defiant. Emergency Weapon Cycle, my apologies. That comes from the Arbiter, the Kurak, or the Morrigu. All available in the C-Store. This is from the Mirror Warship, by the way. Next up, I'm using the Ruin of Our Enemies from the Discovery D7, also known as the Ruin of Our Wallets, because this is insanely expensive. This was gifted me some time ago. I've never really used it until now, and I'm glad I'm using it. Next up is Super Weapon Ingenuity. This comes off of the Adalith Dreadnought. This is a Lobi ship, or you can find it on an exchange. And last but certainly not least, I have Universal Designs, finally, for this tune. I was able to make a very wise trade to get this. When activating a Universal Console, 2% crit chance, 10% crit severity. And I have plenty of Universal Consoles to go around to get this up and going, to get a nice stack of this. Space Rep has not changed, still the same thing I have been using. Magnified Firepower, Advanced Targeting Systems, Controlled Countermeasures, Tyler's Duality, and like I said, I was going to talk about that later. With Tyler's Duality, the more hull capacity you have, the higher your crit chance you're going to get from this is going to be. Mine right now is at 5.3%. Now, if I were to, say, pop a Blade of Jevanite on here, that number would go up. And last but not least, we have Precision for crit chance. Active Space Reputation, not much to talk about here. I do primarily use the Refracting Tetryon Cascade, Quantum Singularity Manipulation, Anti-Time Entanglement Singularity. I use this on the Gateway, as you will see. That way, because it has all those spheres lumped up on it from my controller's Gravwell, and it's just destroying all of that. Massive, massive bonus damage. Alright, next up, stations. Alright, first off, we have distributed targeting to help get my beam overload bouncing around. Torpedo spread to get that dark matter dissolution from your dark matter quantum going around. Main event, the big hitter, beam overload 3. Next up, keeping aside latest weaponry, because who doesn't like radiation explosions? I love radiation explosions. Everyone should do radiation explosions. It's great. And cannon scatter volley. Pardon me there. Ooh. This is help getting around my Trilithium turret gives this thing can do some real nice damage. Next up, emergency powered weapons to proc emergency weapon cycle. Emit unstable warp bubble. This is an uncon proc. This is one of two engineering abilities, the other being eject warp plasma. And since this is a command ship, using some command abilities. Overwhelm emitters 3. To ally 40% of damage as shield regeneration. Shields don't mean much, but whatever. You know, this is a great ability. It also helps proc a duty officer that I'm running. And to foe, 40% of damage as shield drain. That's what we're kind of using it for. That's the big thing. The sooner we cut through our enemy shields, the sooner we're hitting the hull, and the sooner we're blowing them back to their creator. Or to hell, wherever they may want to go. Preferably, I like sending my enemies screaming to hell, but that's just me. And then call emergency artillery. These guys do a lot of damage. I've seen this used on torpedo boats to great effect. I also like using these on energy weapons because there's really not much in command for energy weapons. These do a considerable amount of damage. So I do like it. That's why I like using this. Emergency powered engines help me get around. Also to proc my emergency con hologram, which I'll be talking about momentarily. And then my science abilities, these are all unconventional system procs. Director beam 1, scramble sensors 1, and gravity well because might as well have an extra gravity well on the field. The more enemies are lumped up, the easier are to hit. Alright, let's go ahead and talk about those duty officers now. Okay, first up we have the twins here for chance for beam overload to cause all attacks against the target to gain 35% shield penetration. Because we all know shield penetration is so important, especially with beam overload and energy weapons. The sooner you get through the shields, the sooner you get to the hull, the sooner you send your enemies die screaming and turn them into floating corpses in space. Or perhaps even floating body parts. Your choice. Next up is the emergency con hologram. This recharges evasive maneuvers when using emergency power to engines, which I'll demonstrate this here momentarily. I have a projectile weapon officer. Chance for stacking crit chance on firing projectiles. And the more crit chance you get, the better off you are. Next up is 23 of 47. This is one of the liberated Borg duty officers. As you can see, upon using a tactical ability, 15% chance, improve team-wide maximum hull by 10%. This will feed into everyone's Tyler's duality, so that's always nice. And then upon using command abilities, 30% chance to improve crit chance by 2.5%. So, yeah. That's why we're using it. And of course, we also have 2447. Upon using a tactical ability, 15% chance, set power levels to maximum for 5 seconds. And I have seen this guy proc quite a bit. So as you watch the ISE, you'll see my power levels all spiked to maximum. That's this guy going to work. This is one of my most valuable members of my team. Alright, so let's go take a look at some beauty shots of this lovely ship. Ain't she purty? This is just a very beautifully designed ship. And it's a pity I don't see more of this ship flying around. I mean, yeah, it had its 15 seconds of fame in the Cause and Effect episode of Next Generation. But I believe this ship should have gotten a lot more screen time. It's just a really beautifully designed ship. It's just so unique in its design. No other ship really kind of looks like this. And the funny thing about this ship is, all these sensor pod and pointy things, these are all weapon hardpoints. So literally, this thing is just one big, it's just machine guns basically going off. During the run, you're just going to see phasers shooting out of everywhere of this ship. It's really cool. I absolutely love that they did that. So that being said, let's get on to that ISE run, and then we're going to take a look at the parse afterwards. So stand by for the ISE, and it's time to go kill some Borg. Now that was a hell of a run, wasn't it? Such wanton destruction dealt in the name of the Empire. I am, of course, at James Bryce. Along with me in this little Borg population control session was at Darkspeaker, also known as Augie. He's over at Augmented Dictator Games. And if you guys haven't done so already, take some time to go on over to his channel, hit the thumbs up, smash that subscribe button like it owes you money, and ring the bell. That way you guys get notified when Augie drops more of his awesome content. He works super hard on this content, and it's very, very well done, very informative. I couldn't recommend Augie's channel enough. Also along for the ride was at Mikey213, also known as Mad Dog Mikey Games. He's also a YouTube content creator. Why don't you go over to his channel as well and do the same thing? Thumbs up, smash that subscribe button like it owes you money, and ring the bell. That way you guys get notified when Mad Dog Mikey here drops more of his awesome content. He does a great job on what he does. Also along with me for the ride was at Inira666, also known as Chaos. And last but certainly not least, we have at Jack Card. I couldn't do these kind of runs without these guys. These guys are awesome. Alright, so let's go ahead and take a look at my combat analysis. Okay, overall, I did 438.4k in a theme build. That's outstanding. I am very happy with that number. My max one hit was 402k. Not surprisingly, it came from the Phaser wide-angle dual heavy beam bank. Like I said, this was going to be your #1 damage source on the Parse. And I was not lying when I said it's like a damn runaway truck. Also some heavy hitters here. We have Immolating Phaser Lance weighing in at 364k. That's very good. My Pulse Phasers did very good for themselves as well. Also, coming up here on a very good number is my Dark Matter laced Quantum Torpedoes. Alright, let's go ahead and let's take a look at my pets, since I was talking about them. Okay, for this particular run, I actually forgot to change out to the Alliance carrier pets. I actually had these stock Peregrine fighters that came with the ship. That I kind of noticed that after the run. Oops. But you know what? These guys did really good for themselves. I'm very happy with the DPS. This I get 3.3, 3.0. Peregrine fighter here. Now, this guy didn't do so well. This guy did about 1.5. These artillery assault vessels, you know, I'm telling you, they're no joke. They hit pretty damn hard and pretty consistent numbers too. More artillery vessels I called in a little bit later. More Peregrine fighters. So yeah, between the artillery vessels and my fighters, you know, they ranked up with quite a bit of DPS for me. And I'm very happy with that. Now this number probably would have been higher if I actually had the right pets on there. But that's totally my fault. Like I said, I noticed it after the run. Oops. But once again, I've proven human. So yeah, I would have to say that overall, this ship delivered on what I said it would. Did excellent DPS. It's fast. It's maneuverable. It hits like a damn hammer. I could not be happier with this ship. Now, I may throw some Agony Phasers on here and try it again sometime. But for right now, I'm leaving my Pulse Phasers on this because they performed exceptionally well. So that being said, this is Pirate Scum Gaming signing off. And as we always say around here, don't go by the book, think like a pirate. And I'll catch you next time.
Human! Play, damn human!